Stories are evidences that don't lie. My name is Osadimibi, and every week I will tell you a short story written by a Nigerian writer or author. That's the long and short of it. So without much ado, this week's story is by Peace Nkeiruka Maduako, and it's titled Mr. Hungry Man. Dabbing his sweaty face with a handkerchief, Hyacinth looked out the side window of the bus to call to a lady who hawked cashew nuts, wrapped in pointy, transparent nylons. She came close to the bus and brought down the tray on her head. "Egole?" Hyacinth asked, examining the neatly packed nuts on the tray, picking them up, turning them over, and dropping them again. "That one is 200 naira, the lady said, trying not to be annoyed at how he was picking and dropping the wraps. The bus driver ran up from the ticket stand and banged the bus by the side. "Ngwanu, we move," he said, hopping into his seat behind the wheel. "Madam, it's like your cashew nut is not fresh at all," Hyacinth said, before picking 3 wrappings from the tray. The driver started the engine. Hyacinth withdrew his hand into the bus as it started moving. The lady jogged on beside the bus to collect her payment. "Oga Yemegam," she yelled as the bus made for the highway. "Oga, my money, give me my money." She picked up speed, running after the bus. Hyacinth stuck his head from the window and yelled back at her. My friend, I have paid you your money," he shouted. The bus sped on. "Oga! Oga!" the lady called frantically as she tried but failed to keep up with the bus. The loud music in the bus and the noisy highway drowned her shouts. She stood still, staring as the bus drove away into the distance, her money gone. Hyacinth smiled and relaxed in his seat before he noticed that the man sitting beside him was staring at him disappointedly. He sat up and checked his collar. He murmured to the hearing of the man, "I paid her. She's just a greedy hawker." He unwrapped the first nylon and threw a nut into his mouth. It tasted good. After a 3-hour drive, Hyacinth reached his destination. As the bus came to a halt at the bus stop, he looked out the window at the men and women standing around and felt glad that there was a crowd. He picked up his bag, which was resting on the floor in between his legs, hung it over his strong shoulder, and started getting off the bus. "Hey, Wonke, you don't pay me?" the driver asked, looking back at Hyacinth as he stepped down from the bus. Hyacinth straightened his jacket and started walking away. "Hey, Wonke, hey you have not paid. Come back here," the driver called, but Hyacinth walked on. The driver alighted immediately and ran after him into the crowd. In a few minutes, he returned to the now grumpy passengers waiting in the bus and complaining that they were being delayed. "That's Magana Tifo," the driver said, popping his head into the bus through the side window. "You know that he did not pay me," the driver lamented. "When I was collecting money, he told me that he would do transfer, that he did not have cash. I gave him my account number, but I did not get alert. Now he has disappeared. Hey!" The driver finished, still looking around, hoping to catch sight of Hyacinth. But he was long gone. Walking down the street of the big Onitsha market, Hyacinth branched into a shop. He stood beside the door and looked around at the cartons stacked up in the well-arranged shelves. A man stood up from behind the counter. "What do you want?" the man asked. "Paracetamol, 1 card. I'm really having a terrible headache," Hyacinth responded. The man smiled. "Ndo, let me get it for you," the man said, walking around the counter and coming to stand at the door. Joe, Joe, nye mo fukad paracetamol biko, he shouted across to his neighbor in the next shop. He waited, his short legs sticking out from round his torso as he rubbed his protruding belly with his fat, stubby fingers. His small head was bald at the center, and he wore a jumper made from the jumping horse fabric. His beard looked greasy, and he smelt of beer, probably suffering from too much of the good life. Mengwangwa, he shouted again at his neighbor, who was wasting time attending to another customer. Hyacinth continued to look around in the shop, with the standing fan rotating in the corner and the expensive red carpet on the floor. Catching sight of a brown box at the extreme of the counter, Hyacinth looked back at the door before leaning over to peep at what was inside. Money. Hyacinth shook his head and glanced backwards again. A carton full of money. It wouldn't hurt if some of the money belonged to him. Oga, you are taking my time, Hyacinth said, facing the man. Eweli Webiko, let me go and get it for you, the man repeated, before stepping out of his shop to take the pack of medicine on his neighbor's counter. He returned to his shop and gave a card to Hyacinth, who dipped his hand in the pocket of his jean jacket, brought out some naira notes, paid, and left. Come back soon, you hear? The fat man said, walking around his counter and sitting down. Hyacinth walked away like a gentleman. On his way to his residence, he branched into a pepper soup joint and ordered a bowl. The waitress walked up to him with his order. I hope that you will pay this time, oh, she said with disdain. Ta, shut up your mouth there, Hyacinth replied. Bring 1 Guinness, join, he ordered. She rolled her eyes and pulled down her skimpy skin-tight skirt. He dipped his hand in his pocket and brought out clean naira notes. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hyacinth, you now have money, the waitress said with a scornful laughter, clapping her hands. You are mad, Hyacinth told her dismissively. He pulled his chair closer to the table, looking into the plate and loosening the belt around his waist. Back in his apartment, Hyacinth yawned. He stretched out his hands before falling on his bed, rolling from side to side. He felt quite happy. He pulled his jean jacket to him once more and dipped his hand in its pocket, pulling out the remaining naira notes. He counted them, nodding severally. He would have enough money to buy pepper soup for the whole week. He kissed the bundle of money and lay down to rest. 2 days later, as the sun shone bright in the sky, Hyacinth got up and went to the drawer where he kept his money to check how much he had left. He counted it and recounted it carefully before putting it back in the drawer. He shut the drawer securely and strutted to the bathroom. As he showered, he danced and sang aloud, still jubilating at the prospect of being able to afford good food for a few more days to come. Startled by a noise, he stopped singing and listened. Someone was banging loudly and continuously on his door. I'm coming, don't break down my door, he yelled. He pulled on a pair of trousers and dashed out of the bathroom. Grabbing a t-shirt from his bed and pulling it over his head, he headed for the door as more loud bangs thrashed it. Muttering in annoyance, he pulled open the door to 3 hefty men, who immediately barged in, took hold of him, and pinned him to the floor. As he wrestled to free himself from their grip, a short, fat man walked in. Hyacinth recognized him immediately. Oga, what is all this nonsense? Glancing briefly around the room, but not looking at Hyacinth, the man took a seat and pulled out a stick of cigarette from the pack in his hand and lit it. He took a long drag and slowly puffed rings of smoke into the air. As feet, knees, and elbows held him in place, Hyacinth continued to writhe and demand answers, but was met with silence. After a few more drags, the short, fat man tapped the cigarette to remove excess ash. Looking at Hyacinth for the first time, he sneered as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a picture. On cue, one of the 3 hefty men leaned over, collected the photo from the short, fat man, and shoved it in Hyacinth's face. A crystal clear black and white photo of him lifting a wad of notes from a setting carton full of money. Peace Nkeiruka Maduako is a Nigerian fictionist and poet who resides in Owerri, Imo State. She's an art lover, a Christian, and a published writer with dozens of literary publication credits online and in print. Her latest works are featured in Doublespeak Magazine, Sprint NG, Kalahari Review, and Literary Cocktail Magazine. She also runs a writing page on Facebook, Peace Girl Works, and edits the literary journal, Sweet Smell Journal. You can connect with her on Facebook at Peace Nkeiruka and on LinkedIn at Peace Nkeiruka. Details and links will be in the episode description. If you've got a story you would like to be featured on this podcast, or a published book you want to make into an audiobook, send an email to info@osadumebi.com or send me a message at osadumebi on either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or X. I look forward to collaborating with you. And if you've enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell someone, everyone, that stories are a good escape for a few minutes each week.